It's myself Siddharth Chauhan. Welcome to Easy Medchem. Today's our lecture topic is to study about the basal ganglia. The basal ganglia is nothing but the mass of the gray matter. It is a mass of gray matter which is present at the base of the cerebral hemisphere. Okay, if I draw the cerebral hemisphere here, if this is the cerebral hemisphere, this portion of the cerebral hemisphere is called the parietal lobe, and this portion is called the temporal lobe, isn't it? And below this is the midbrain, this is the pons, this is the medulla oblongata, and this is the spinal cord. The basal ganglia, where does actually the basal ganglia is present? The basal ganglia is present at the base of the cerebral hemisphere. Okay, actually the name ganglia here, the name ganglia should not be used, because the ganglia means it is a group of the cell body which are present outside the central nervous system. The ganglia are nothing but the group of the cell bodies which are present outside the central nervous system. But here the basal ganglia is present inside the central nervous system, so it must be called as a nuclei. It should not be called as a ganglia, because the nuclei are the group of cell bodies which are present inside the central nervous system, and here the basal ganglia is present inside the central nervous system, so it must be called as a basal nuclei. So now the name has been changed, it is called basal nuclei. Where does actually the basal nuclei or the basal ganglia, which is previously called, is actually present? This basal ganglia is present just above the midbrain. If this portion is the midbrain, it is present just above the midbrain. Here, just above the midbrain, the two thalamus are present. These are the two thalamus. Okay, the two thalamus, in between the two thalamus there is a third ventricle. This portion is the third ventricle, and more lateral to the third ventricle the two thalamus are present, and more laterally to thalamus, this portion is the lentiform cells. This is the lentiform cells, and the lentiform cells consist of the two parts. The lateral part is called as a putamen, and the more medial part towards the thalamus is called as a globus pallidus. And in between the lentiform cell and the thalamus there is a mass of the white matter is present, where the fibers, ascending fibers and the descending fibers, spinothalamic tract and corticospinal tracts are passing. This portion is forming a one layer of white matter here. So this portion which is present in between the lentiform cell and the thalamus is called as an internal capsule. The two internal capsule is present, which is present in between the lentiform cells and the thalamus. So it is called as an internal capsule because there must be external capsule also. The external capsule is present more lateral to the lentiform cells. This here, the external capsule is present. Okay, here the external capsule is present, and more lateral to the external capsule there is another mass of the gray matter is present. This mass of the gray matter, which is present just outside or more lateral to the external capsule, this portion is called as an claustrum. Okay, the mass of the gray matter which is present just or more lateral to the external capsule is called as an claustrum, and there is another white matter, or the white matter is present more lateral to the claustrum. This white matter, this portion of the white matter is called as an extreme capsule, and more lateral to the extreme capsule the mass of the gray matter is present here, which is in between the parietal lobe and the temporal lobe. This mass of the gray matter which is present more lateral to the extreme capsule is called as an insula. This portion is called as an insula. Okay, so we are having an rough idea about where does actually the basal ganglia is present. If I will draw the basal ganglia in more clear way, okay, this The basal ganglia is present just above the midbrain. If this is the midbrain, if this is the midbrain, this portion is the midbrain. It is present just above the midbrain. Just above the midbrain, the two thalami are present. These are the two thalami. The two thalami are present. One thalamus, another thalamus, and in between the thalamus there is a third ventricle. This is the third ventricle. Okay, this is the third ventricle, and more lateral to the thalamus, the lentiform cells are present. These are the lentiform cells. The lentiform cells are having two portions. This portion of the lentiform cells, which is more medial towards the thalamus, are called as an globus pallidus, and more lateral one is called the putamen. Okay. In between the lentiform cells and the thalamus, the internal capsule is present. This is the internal capsule. The internal capsule is. Like, share and subscribe my channel to reboot your knowledge, and press bell icon for all notifications.